So in this video I'll be talking about what to do if you run out of yarn halfway through a round and you want to join a new ball without making a knot. So with this you do need to sort of pick where you are going to add the new ball of yarn, and it's always best to add it, especially on a granny stitch like this, it's best to add it when you're making the first stitch of the next set of clusters, and it's actually even better if you make it in the first stitch of a corner series of clusters, because it just means you've got more spaces in which to more opportunities in which to hide the ends. So the basic premise of joining the new ball of yarn is that you're going to add it in halfway through a stitch. So in this tutorial, this is how to add a new ball of yarn when you've got rows of double crochet. So which is a UK treble. So we start the stitch off as normal. We yarn over it, we go into the stitch or the space depending on what you're doing, and we pull up a loop, and then we yarn over, draw off 2, but we don't finish off the stitch at this point. Instead we drop the yarn that we've run out of, and then we join the new ball, and we actually leave a little bit at the back, so you don't want it really short because it will come undone. You probably need about a couple of inches, or about 8 that's probably about 8 centimeters, isn't it? So then what you do is you just finish off the stitch with the new yarn. Then as you make the next stitch, you get both those tail ends and you sort of catch them in. So you can see that I've got the space or the stitch where I'm working into, and then I've also laid those 2 tail ends on top of the hook like that as well. And then you just carry on as normal. So here it takes a couple of attempts sometimes. So here actually I'm not particularly happy with the live loop on that stitch, it's a bit baggy. So this is the only thing with this, you do have to quite carefully control your tension. So yarn over into the stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, draw off 2. Just going to control those loops with my index finger, make sure everything's to hand, finish off the stitch with the new yarn, and then as I make the next set of stitches I am catching in both tail ends of the new yarn and the old ball. There we are, that looks much better. And then as I make the next set of cluster stitches I am still catching in those tail ends, and then I'm just going to carry on as normal, and then later on when I've finished, all I'll do is I'll get those 2 tail ends and I'll sew them back the other way, making sure I'm not just undoing everything by catching a strand of yarn before I go back the other way. So as you can see, to the uninitiated that completely just looks like a you know, there's nothing been going on there, and there's no knot and no real extra bulk or lumps. So that is one of my preferred ways of adding a new ball of yarn when I'm making double crochet stitches.